Well, hello there. This is Dr. Piano Man. Yep, Doc Hatfield. Back with another story. I was asked the question about how I ended up in this power chair. Back in 2010, probably around in November, I started to have some pain when I go to the bathroom. And I thought to myself, well, I'll be glad when this is over with. I don't want to have to live with this the rest of my life. So I just thought it was a thing that would be there for a minute, or for a day or two, maybe a week, and then it'd go away. Whatever it was, I wasn't worried about it. I didn't ever complain to my wife. I never complained. I never sat there saying, oh, I feel bad about this, feel bad about that. Oh, I want to go to the doctor. Oh, I want to go to the hospital. I don't do that. I keep my mouth shut. Long story why I do that, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, I started having this pain, and I thought, well, that'll go away after a while. Well, it didn't go away. It kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So in January of 2011, my wife's mother had to have a hip replaced. My wife wanted to go up there. She said, now I might be up there for as much as 2 weeks. I said, don't worry about it. I said, I got a threshold over here on these French doors I need to replace. So I'll fix that threshold and have this and have it completely waterproof by the time you get back. She said, okie dokie. So she leaves. I go to work on the floor. I'm working on that floor day and night, day and night. Job I should have had done in one day's time, but as I got into it, I found out that there was a problem with the flooring there where that was. I had to replace some flooring, and I was doing all of that, and I was working on this threshold. And as the time went on, I was getting so weak that at times I would have to crawl out of that hole of an evening and crawl over to the recliner, crawl up in the recliner and stay there really for the rest of the night. And so what should have been a day or two job ended up being a 2-week job. I got it done just about 4 hours before she showed up. And she come in and saw it and said, oh, that's nice, that's wonderful. I said, good, I'm glad you like it. And that was the end of that. Well, I kept having this pain, and I mean, it was getting so dadgum bad, I was just begging myself not to go to the bathroom. But I mean, you know, when you gotta go, you got to go. And so I finally, in March, around the first week of March, I told my wife, I said, I got a little problem I need to talk to you about. You're a registered nurse. Maybe you could tell me. She usually don't ever answer me. So I told her about all this pain I was having, and I said, do you have any idea of what it could be? Well, it could be many things, she said. And she said, you want me to make an appointment with the doctor? I said, no, don't make no appointment with the doctor. I said, he'll just make a fuss and I'll have to whip him, and I don't want to do that. My doctor and I are really good close friends. So anyway, about the 3rd week of March, I come out of the bathroom one day, and I had asked her before. I said, what would make me rather walk on a bed of nails 100 foot than to have to go to the bathroom? And she said, well, I don't know. She said, you could have a oversized polyp or something in there. I said, well, I don't know nothing about that. So anyway, the 3rd week of March, I come out of the bathroom one day, I said, you need to go in there and look. And she went in there and looked and come back, and she said, well, it's just nothing but solid blood in there. And said, that's dark. She said, we need to get you to a doctor. I said, well, get me to a doctor. She said, I'm about to pass out. I said, just get me to the doctor. Well, they did. They got me to this doctor. He did a colonoscopy on me. And then, after the colonoscopy, he come in there where I was sitting, where my wife was sitting, and he sat down with us, and he said, Dr. Hatfield, I have to tell you something. He said, as far as we know, and we could tell by the size of it and everything, we think that you probably have the largest rectal tumor known to man. And I've been doing this long enough to know it's chock full of cancer. And I think it spilled over onto some of your lymph nodes. He said, you need to get to a surgeon quick. And so he said, do you have one in mind? Well, my wife mentioned a surgeon. He went and made an appointment. 2 days later, we was in his office. He said, Doc, I can't do this. He said, if I was to operate on you now, I'd kill you. There's no way I can do it without killing you. He said, what you need to do is go to see a radiologist, and you need to go see an oncologist bad. So we went to see an oncologist. He did his examination, seen the radiologist. He did his examination. The radiologist said, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know if I can do anything for you or not. But he said, the thing is, to give you radiation, we've got to go through your hips to give you radiation in that tumor. I said, okay, I don't care. He said, but what I'm saying to you is that could affect your walking. Not saying it will, but saying it could in time affect you enough you might not walk again. And I said, oh, Doc, that won't happen. He said, well, it's rare, but it could happen. I said, okay. So here I go getting radiation every day, 6 days a week. I go to the oncologist. He said, in order to make sure that we eradicate this cancer, we've got to give you 2 kinds of chemo at the same time. And we're going to do that in a pump. You're going to have it on your side, and it will automatically dispense chemo to you throughout the day and throughout the night. So I was living with that thing, having to have that thing redone every 30 days, having to have the radiation done, had it done for about 4 months, and then they had to wait for it to heal up for a month. Then the surgeon called me about the first part of August, and he said, well, Doc, he said, I'm going to leave it in your ballpark. I said, okie dokie, what? He said, whether you want to do this or not. He said, now, if you don't, we can't do nothing for you. If you do, there's a possibility you can come through the surgery alive. I can't tell you what it'll be, but there's a possibility. Do you want to try it? And I said, well, doctor, I said, the only other outcome other than come through it alive is that I'll end up in heaven. I said, let's go for it. So on September the 7th, I went into the hospital. He brought in another surgeon, and he said, this man I've been working with for years and years and years, and said, we're going to do something that's rare. He said, we're going to do 2 operations at the same time. He's going to operate on you from the back. I'm going to operate on you from the front. And he said, and we will have to do this in order to get this taken care of. I said, whatever it takes, let's just do it. All I ask you to do is just say a prayer before you start. He said, all right. So they operated on me for hours and upon hours and upon hours. And then they brought me back, and it was several days before I woke up. And when I woke up, looked down and I said, "What is this thing here?" And they said, "Well, that's called an ostomy." I said, "What is that?" They said, "Well, that's where you're going to go to the bathroom the rest of your life. We had to close you up from the back. We got the tumor, and we got the few lymph nodes that had cancer in them, and we're very confident. We're very confident that we got it all." And he said, "So it will take you a while to heal up, but said you should be fine." I said, "Okie dokie." So when we got home, my wife told me, she said, "Well, in about 5 weeks, you'll be up and going. We'll just be back to normal." I said, "Okay." So in that 5 weeks, I ended up back in the hospital 3 times. I was at death's door each time. But God brought me back every time. And then it took several months, about 10 months altogether, before I was able to get up, walk from my chair to the bathroom door, and then I walked from my chair out to the door going into the kitchen. Then I walked into the kitchen, and it wasn't long till I was walking. And I said, "Well, here we go." And so everything seemed good. About a year later, I was walking in the kitchen one day. My wife was at work, and all of a sudden I crumbled to the floor. And I said, "What in the world?" And so I went to get up, couldn't get up. So I pulled a dining chair over and used it to get myself up out of the floor and into the chair. I sat there for a few minutes, and I got up, and I was real weak walking, so I got in, got to my recliner, sat in my recliner for a while, got up, and I said, "Oh, well, whatever that was, that's okay." Well, it wasn't but a few days till it happened again, then a few days it happened again, then it just started happening over and over. I finally ended up using a walker to walk, and then I ended up using a wheelchair. And finally, my doctor told me, he said, "We need to get you a power chair. You're probably going to have one the rest of your life." And so, even though I had the power chair, I could get up and walk from the power chair over to a recliner and sit down, and that was all right. And I said, "Well, let's be all right. I can do this." Well, it wasn't long till I couldn't do that. I got where I could stand up, and then I could just twist and sit down in a recliner. And then it got worse than that. And so finally, the doctor said, "You're going to have to just live with the fact you're going to be here the rest of your life." So I've been in a power chair ever since. Now, I was in the sorriest power chair you could get. It was so sorry that I couldn't even take it outside. When I go outside, I go down the ramp and everything be fine, because I had to build a porch and a ramp for my wife to get in and out when she had a hip operation. Little did I know that years later it would be for me. But it was, and it is. And so 5 years went by, and it was time for me to get another power chair. And this time, when the man come in, and he was from Quantum, and he said, "Well, how does that chair do?" I said, "I can't stay in it over an hour, so I got to get out of it." I said, "It kills me. I can't stand it." He said, "Well, I'm going to tell you, the chair that we're going to get you, you'll be able to sit in for the rest of your life and never move." I said, "I'll believe that when I see it. There ain't nothing more comfortable than my recliner." He said, "Well, this will be." I said, "Okie dokie." I believed him about like I believed me shooting off to the moon. So anyway, sure enough, And so I said to him, I said, well, is there any way you can make that chair just go back where I can recline in it and take a nap? He said, no. No, he said, and so the nurse spoke up. She said, but he's paraplegic. Oh, he said, you're paraplegic. I said, yeah, you can do that. He said, you can, it'll recline, said it'll be better than your recliner will recline. I said, well, seeing is believing, and believe me, I should be from Missouri because I got to see it to believe it. Well, sure enough, when I got this power chair, it was the most comfortable thing I'd ever been in my life. I could recline in this thing and just lay back and take the nap. I mean, it was the best thing since buttered bread. So, ever since I've been in a power chair, I've been in it the rest of my life. I've had doctors say, not doctors, but I've had preachers call me and say, well, why didn't you pray for God to heal you? I said, oh, for God's sakes. Got to talk to a dumbbell here. I had one preacher call up. He said, Doc, if I was you, I'd kill myself. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, well, thinking about it, if I was you, I'd kill myself as ugly as you are. Of course, I prayed for God to do that. But I also prayed and asked God to get the greater glory out of everything. Now, I don't know why God spared me, and I don't know why I'm alive today. But I do know that God spared me, and God has spared me time and time again through my entire life. At the beginning of my life, God spared me over and over and over and over. And now God is sparing me again. God spared me another time, and I'll tell you about that sometime as well. So anyway, that's why I'm in a power chair. Someone asked me what this power chair does, and I will demonstrate that for you sometime, but we'll do that in another video. So until then, until I see you again, till you see me again, poor people, got to look at this face. But hey, it's the only one I got. So until I see you again, may God just pour his grace out upon you and bless you real good. May he supply your every need. May he take care of every circumstance. And may he give you peace that passes all understanding. So until I see you, may God richly bless you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.